Growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, Lionel Bacon never envisioned living most of his life in Richmond. But a door was opened by former VCU head coach Mike Pollio, who brought Lionel here on a basketball scholarship, and he immediately fell in love with the city.
Richmond and Louisville are a lot alike, and so when I came on my visit, I pretty much knew from then that this is where I wanted to play.
There are thousands of kids happy he made that decision. Bacon spent much of his life before college at his local YMCA. He spent 20 years after college working for the YMCA, which led him to his current position as Vice President of Philanthropy for the Virginia Home for Boys and Girls.
It's a very fancy way of saying fundraising.
The Virginia Home helps hundreds of kids in crisis each year through their group homes, schools, independent living arrangements, and therapy.
We provide kids with a childhood. A lot of kids, because of their circumstances, because of their neglect, haven't had a childhood and don't know what a childhood is like. And for the first time in their lives on our campus, they experience love, support, encouragement. All of those type things happen here for the first time. You know, I stand between the kids who have needs and those with the resources, and I stand in the middle, and I tell those with the resources why they should join me as a donor and invest and make a contribution to those in need.
Some of the stories Bacon has heard aren't fit to share publicly. It can dampen even the brightest of dispositions.
The same low that is provided or that I receive when hearing information about a kid's background, I get the same, it's the same spike in the other direction when a kid smiles or a kid does something nice for another child.
Nice pass.
This is enough of a calling for one person. But for Bacon, a chance encounter brought the former athlete and competitor out of him in a way he never imagined. You may or may not have heard of Spartan races, billed as the ultimate obstacle course. Much like his move to Richmond, Bacon jumped into his next opportunity with both feet.
I was at a cookout and somebody had a t-shirt on and they had done one, so I asked a few questions. Went and looked it up, and there was one coming a couple months later, and I got into it, and I fell in love with it.
Spartan races are run anywhere from 3 to 30 miles with various obstacles like fire jumps, wall climbs, and heavy object carrying thrown in. With a smile on his face, Bacon calls it the hardest thing he has ever done.
You know, I tell people what a Spartan race is and how long it is, and people say, man, you're crazy. And enough people have said it to where I start to think, have I lost a marble somewhere? But it's the competitor in me.
Bacon did well enough at a qualifier in West Virginia to make it to the World Championships earlier this year in Lake Tahoe, California. Unfortunately, a calf injury and hypothermia cut his run much shorter than he had planned. It's still a living example to the kids he serves about what is possible, regardless of any obstacle.
Every race, I learn more about me and what it takes to compete, and the endurance and the preparation and the will, and it's the same kind of things that I'm talking to kids about here. Is you really can push through anything, and you can physically push through things if your mind knows you can physically push through it. You can do a lot more than you think you can do.